We're here, we're here. Hi, I'm aLex Levin. We're here for a half hour of getting present. I'm screeching in still, so let me get my drink. I'm here at 10 a.m. Sunday mornings, Eastern Time. This is Sun and Moon Yoga Studios. One of the ways to participate in our community, coming from my home in our YouTube channel. Do also please check out our website. If you're local, you know us, you could come in person to one of our locations in Arlington or Fairfax. But it's a really a wonderful tool we have that we can meet virtually, isn't it? It's really special, a special treat. More than that, it's a connection that we can have when, if to make it more convenient, or if you're not local, or time-wise, if you don't have the travel time, for lots of reasons. That was one of the silver linings of pandemic times, jump-started us in that direction. So today, my theme, my title, we'll see if I need to change it as we go. It's DoBeDoBeDo, sort of the sound of the scat-like sound, musical, DoBeDoBeDo. But it's the two polarities of being and doing that I'd like to touch on. I'll get us grounded. We'll talk a little bit and segue right into some very, very subtle movement today. Again, as I often do, will be with our breathing. If you're here while I'm streaming at the synchronous time, putting a chat onto the interface is lovely for me to know that you are here with me. Otherwise, I do know that many of you join later. And I'm so glad to be connected in this way. DoBeDoBeDo. As always, I have many, many different thoughts at once coming, and they seem to weave together nicely usually. But this main idea. Oh, let's center first. I keep forgetting. I get right into the chatting, and I promise not to chat as much as I have the last couple weeks. Not for as long. So just arrive where you are. You've probably, if you do a regular practice, you know the value of setting up your space to be comfortable, to have what you need nearby, have a cup of tea to sip if that's helpful, to have a shawl to throw over yourself if you tend to get chilly. And in the winter, almost winter season here, space can get chilly. And begin to, let's start with what I don't usually start with. Let's notice sound. And so if like for me, the place you are is fairly quiet, you may, or just when we invite ourselves to listen, a stillness comes with that. Getting still so we don't make the sounds of our clothing and our own movement sounds don't get in the way. You might notice you already slide a little closer to simply being when we're more still. You can't not be being, but often we lose sight, lose feel of connection with being. So notice how sound is received inside, seemingly inside, and yet it's coming from out there, from around, from the space around. So it's a beautiful linking and blurring that boundary of the inner and outer. And as we've gotten still to listen to sound, perhaps breath, that second pointer of my three that I use, courtesy of my teachers, Russell and Linda Delman. Sound, breath, ground. And in opening, relaxing to feel the breath, perhaps you're noticing. What are you noticing? Let me leave it for you. Perhaps the body can relax a little more to allow the breath more freedom and more space. And what might be bubbling up is noticings of where the breath flows easily, where the body's holding tension, and where it might freely release that tension. And maybe the final pointer, the ground, has become palpable sort of on the periphery, on the edges of feeling our breath as we feel the outside of our body, in particular the parts, lower parts close to whatever surface is supporting you. The legs supporting my arm, hands and forearms, the couch underneath me supporting my pelvis, legs, my whole body. And while keeping a openness to sound and to breath, beginning to really key in onto what seems like a if there was a thin cloth, like a scarf or a sheet between yourself and the ground, just really feeling that interface of communication, of touch, of receiving. Lovely, lovely. And as you're in this state of having arrived and whatever might be percolating up into your mind, I'll just say a few words and we'll go right into our subtle movement and into meditation after that. So you can be doing these from, I should have said this earlier, but you can do this sitting as I am, or you can lie down. You can be on your side, on your back, on your front, lying down. You could be leaning back in your chair. You can be on the floor. There are different sensations if you're sitting upright without any support for the back. There's an alertness And there are certain benefits to finding how to line up with gravity, how to meet gravity in a way that it supports us as well. It becomes sort of one part of the ground. But it's just as fine to be in any of the other positions that have their own benefits, especially for the fatigued minds and hearts that and bodies that we have. Lying down may be exactly what you need, and lying on your belly may be really uh, giving a sense of safety, of calming to your nervous system. So just check, partly intuitively, partly whatever way, whatever you're gravitating toward may inform that. And therein my last words is the is the is the crux of what I wanted to share today. And the simplest thing that we hear through teachings of all kinds, and there's all kinds of elaborations and tools and things, but it's basically that we rest in being in presence more, that we make that effort to do that, because it does take a certain effort and shift, as the other way, the being in doing, being in our doing mode. Notice that being, the language even supports that being has to be there. The being is doing, the subject is doing. That it's just how we're wired, how the human organism for thousands and thousands of years is wired to be attentive to what's happening, to what's changing, to the marketplace, as sometimes is called, as opposed to the the stillness and the quiet and stillness and timeless essence of ourself. That essence is always, 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 always here. It has to be here for the rest. And it's where you'll know what you need in the doing. And in the doing part of us, in the doing and changing, there can always be doubts and judgments and uncertainties and patterns and ego or conditioning. And often we have questions about, what should I do next? I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to actually appear, express like this anymore. But how do I change? Which is the right path to change? What's the right thing to say here? And while there are many resources in the changing and world, from YouTube to Encyclopedia Britannica to Friends Wisdom to um, all the places we get information, to our past experience, but presence, that is a well, is a fount of, and has also the blueprint for us, and it knows somehow the next thing that would be essential for us. And some teachings say there's this obvious next thing. I do think, though, we need to sometimes we just do our best in whatever is the obvious next best thing. But if you can invest some time in presence, it becomes more potent, more obvious, more spot on for your own authentic expression. So when we start into the meditation, I'll read one of my favorite poems that sort of speaks to that simply being that we can avail ourselves of. And so as you've been listening, perhaps you've been feeling how the sound comes to you, how the meanings of the words, how it blends with your own experience here, how you might be planning already ahead, or thinking, yeah, I'm going to dedicate more time to sitting, or I'm, oh, I'm doing this so poorly, or other things about your life coming in, and it's all fine. We are part of this practice, and this tapping into being is it has infinite spaciousness for all of this, to hold all of this, all of our thoughts, all of our discomforts, pains, all of our, as well as all of our joys and delights and hopes and um, all the things we deem positive. So let's come back to breath now. And meanwhile, as we shift to a particular arena, you're on the periphery, you're open, and so thoughts can come. And the more we practice not gripping, and not gripping to our reaction of our reaction of our reaction of our reaction, we it starts to just flow through more easily. Or even if it stays for a while, it's not as sticky, not as deeply tentacled and rooted. Breathing. And so begin to especially feel into the low belly. If you like, bring your hands to the low belly and feel this whole lower dantian of yourself. Feeling the inside edges, the pelvic floor, the hip joints from the inside. And we get better and better at this the more we visit these inner locations, these inner landscapes. Feel where the sacrum of the lower back is sort of the back wall of that lower sphere. So integrated with our root, that might be thought of as the whole spine and tail, and the energetic tail that goes all the way to the center of the earth. And we can perhaps feel the potent presence of simply being as we're breathing. And perhaps with the in breath, as is very common, we might imagine that we let the belly expand and open. And when you breathe out, just follow what the body does and get even more and more relaxed with the out breath and with the in breath. Like the in breath is kind of feels like there sometimes, like we can help it. We can make an effort to open more, but what if we did that effortlessly? And the invitation here is, some of you have done this with me, is this unshu breathing, where on the exhale now, imagine staying full. The fullness shifts. There's a shift in what happens sort of in the musculature and the diaphragm and the musculature. But the breathing in, expansion, and then stay soft. Just keep the belly open. Even though the breath goes out, soften. Feels to me like there's almost a dropping of something, a deeper dropping on the out breath. The in breath has this buoyancy, and the out breath can be soft and open, but there's feels like maybe it's different for you. Just a few times. If this is new to you, just a few times is enough. There's a whole lot going on. It demands a lot of our nervous system to for quite a big change, especially as probably many of us often learn just the natural flow is for everything to deflate, to pull in. But we can also do the opposite. But it might not feel like you can do it so easily. Be patient with yourself and let that go. Just come back to observing breathing. Just observing breathing. Maybe tap again into the feel of sound, the travels of sound, ground. And let's begin the stillness portion of our program, often called meditation. About 8 minutes. Make in this beginning part, perhaps you're already in a comfortable place, no adjustments needed, but if there are, go ahead and make any adjustments to ensure to the best that you can, the ease for the stillness, a support for stillness. We're simply here. We're breathing, we're sitting. If you need a tether, if you feel challenged or lost, you can use any of the 3 sound, ground, breath. You could use a tool of counting 1 breath, 2, 1, 2. You can count 1 to 10. And the poem is Ron Padgett's In Action of Shoes. There are many things to be done today, and it's a lovely day to do them in. Each thing a joy to do and a joy to have done. I can tell because of the calm I feel when I think about doing them. I can almost hear them say to me, "Thank you for doing us." And when evening comes, I'll remove my shoes and place them on the floor and think how good they look sitting, standing there, not doing anything. So the shoes can be like our stillness, the shoes just sitting, lying there, here. No matter what doing appears to be happening, being is right here with us. breath, a little lightness, and maybe even a little joy. Without any effort or doing, in a sense, perhaps more relaxation could be allowed. A little letting go in the jaw hinges, or in that breathing area, the belly that we attended to, or in the shoulders. And a few more breaths together here today. Thank you so much for joining me, for joining us. Rock, Tommy's sleeping there. Max had been up here. He's watching birds now. DoBeDoBeDo, DoBeDoBeDo. May you frequently visit the be part. And let's just do that more and more. This practice helps us remember it. And throughout the day, if there's some ways you can just pause, take 1, 2, 3 breaths, conscious breaths. Feel the breath in the belly, feel the ground. Stop, just get still and feel sound out there, in here, connected. Can make a big difference as life feels challenging in novel ways, ever more. Opening to the bigger picture, the long view, and the joys that are, and possibilities and service that is available. Thank you so much. Love that you're here with me. Send me an email, aLex@sunandmoonstudio.com. I'd love to hear how your practice is going. Ciao.